To her right is Albert Rainio, and next is Shirley Gomes, and our new friend Jane Martin. We are going to be talking about the next segment, which is going to be on education and how we are getting this information out into the schools and where it's going to go from there. So I understand you all were in some of the classrooms at the high school today, and that Jane's got a very important piece that we need to hear about with getting this information out into our public.
Yes, it is important. As we've all stated already, if we don't share the stories and teach the young people, they're not going to acquire the knowledge. The Harwich Historical Society is always trying to make partnerships with the schools. Right now we're doing it with the Cape Verde Historical Trust, and the next exhibit we'll do it with that. I think that's one of the things I wanted to share, is that we see the young people as, you know, the conduit of this information into the next generation, so very important to get them involved. So this is a thrilling partnership we're having with the Cape Verdean Historical Trust, because the information's thrilling, it's emotional, it's passionate, and kids respond to that in a very, very positive way. I have had several excellent partnerships with teachers in the high school, so that's where I tend to normally go to start with these relationships. And so we started with the history classes and the cooperation with Mr. Richard Houston and Ms. Angelina Chalaka, who's the health and peer leadership teacher. And so we've all sat down and decided this was the time and the place to begin the initiative in terms of getting the word out. Kids certainly do speak, so they hope that they're going to speak to their families and their friends and share what we've brought with them today. Included in this is learning not only about the culture, but how to express what you've learned. We are offering a contest for the students at the high school to write some kind of a creative response to something they've learned from the exposure over the last 2 days. And they can write an essay, they can write a poem, or create a rap. We call them respectful raps when they're going to be presented at a school function or to a public greater than their own home. And the kids were very excited. It is being further motivated by some cash prizes for them, but the more important part is they're being invited to think about what they've learned and then convey it back to us in a creative way. And those who end up with products that are going to be, in our view, the winning ones, which would be any that come in terms of their sharing, but we hope to include that in the exhibit. And so, again, we will now have learned and taught it 1 degree away from the core of it, and it just will keep growing and expanding. So my next stop will be to the middle and the elementary schools and building partnerships there with particular teachers and into different classrooms. Of course, we'll use a little bit different tact at that level, a lot more in elementary around art forms, and then in the middle school around family trees and genealogy. And all of these things, although we're focusing it on the Cape Verdean experience, they're open to all the cultures of the kids in the classrooms. But by sharing, again, we extended out that next round and expanded some more. So it should be very exciting, and also make people more interested in attending the exhibit.
And do you know a date yet when you're going to be, you're gearing up, I think Shirley said for June, is that right?
It'll open in June.
Yes, officially.
And be open through October. Columbus Day weekend, I think.
That's right.
Closing. And because of the artifacts that we'll have there, I think we'll all become more aware, more educated about the islands. And, you know, when we first approached the Harwich Historical Society, they talked about their mission, their purpose, and they were interested in what we wanted to do, but we had to make a Harwich connection.
That's correct.
Right? So if we want to talk about the marine history of the Cape Verde Islands, then we're going to tell you about some of the whalers who were here. Across the street from me lived this man, Louis Pina, and Zai. And he loved to tell stories, and he was just a great storyteller. We'll make sure that he's a part of that history. If we're talking about the music, we've got Jack Pina And we've interviewed him. We'll bring some of that music back. As a child, we used to have a man named Dan Gomes, not a relative, but that was his name. And his music was on WOCB. Well, we're trying to find that now and bring that to the exhibit. So we'll be doing, with art and music, all parts of the Cape Verdean culture, we'll be connecting it to Harwich people.
And I'm sure you'll have some form of quilting with my friend Virginia.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Virginia is a great artist, and so isn't her brother. He gave me sketches of old Harwich when I was in the Board of Selectmen. So I left it there. It graces the halls of Town Hall. But we'll have to have him and many, many other talented Harwich people in that exhibit. So their mission to us is to connect Cape Verde history with the Harwich history.
And when you talked about the art and music and some of the other pieces, I think one of the little teeny details people forget is they tell the story themselves.
Don't they, though?
When you look outside this Channel 18 office, there's a Virginia Pina painting of some young boys playing. And she told me a 20-minute story about that painting. That story needs to be retold,
Yes.
whether it's in a small form underneath a painting or something underneath one of Virginia's quilts or something with Jack's music. The pieces and the artifacts themselves have a history, but they also have a story that
They
goes
have a
with
story.
many of them.
Yes.
And I think that a number of people forget that piece. Oh, it's just a lava rock. Well, it's not just a lava rock. There's a story behind that lava rock.
And it's not just a 20-minute Jenna story to someone here at the community center or to the Council on Aging. It's
Right.
a 20-minute Jenna story about part of her life, and it's youth in that picture, and it's an intergenerational story that the children need to hear from Jenna.
Right, right. And that's one of the reasons that this station is so great, because you can get so many wonderful guests like yourselves that continue to bring those stories forward so that others that are in the viewing audience, and there's sometimes up to 6,000 of them, can hear it. And I think that's unbelievably important.
Do you know how many times I've been asked, what's a Cape Verdean? We're going to be answering that in greater detail, and I
Yes.
don't think next year, a year from now, I'd be very surprised if people who live here ask, what's a Cape Verdean?
But each community does things their way, and we need to respect that way, but also to know what it is. And I think that's the job that you've all been doing.
And guess what? The old washboard that the woman was scrubbing on when I was in Cape Verde in 2000, I tried it. Of course my knuckles hurt. And then she took that, well, I would say a piece of soap, but it was hard. It was blue. It was whatever. And she said, "No, Barbara, please." And she started with the talent and with almost a pace,
A rhythm.
a rhythm.
It is.
Yeah.
And she scrubbed and scrubbed. The collars cleaned. The clothes went out on the rocks to be dried. I have never had my whites so white and my brights so bright. And I've got a picture of her that we can take after this. She was at the house of my professor in the island, my friend, my mentor. Her name was Crispina Gomes. And you mentioned Cuba. And my friend who I stayed with, this is how modest and warm the islanders are. She became the Cape Verdean ambassador to Cuba. And she
Wow.
just finished her term last year. And she was here in New Bedford visiting her brother, and we embraced. And she said, my friend Barbara, she would have wished that I could have gone to Cuba to visit her while she was there. We still have closed borders, and I was working for the federal government, and I couldn't go, but I wished I could have. We should have been able to be friends even while she was in Cuba. And she is married to a Cuban man. So it is a wonderful look at the interconnections. And I will show you the woman that helped her in her home scrubbing on the washboard better than our laundries and our washing machines and laundry detergent can do in this.
When Barbara mentioned about them coming with this cart, well, it's really a wheelbarrow. And you take whatever you wanted, and no money was exchanged. I'm saying to myself, what's going on here? And they put it on a book. The guy doesn't even write it down while he's there, but the trust is there. And you pay whenever you have the money. It's not $1 a month, $1 a week, or anything else. Over there, it's whenever you have $1, you give them $1.
And they literally said it
and that's the way they live.
in Creole. I was a child, and they would say, na, pour nabuk.
Yeah.
Pour nabuk. And I'd say, what does this mean? Yeah. So we now know it as credit. But they didn't charge us interest. They just pour nabuk.
Yeah.
Actually, the Prime Minister, when I was visiting with him, and the word is sodad. So there's a song, of course, we learn. Sodad, sodad, and it talks about Cape Verde. We cannot explain that any better than we can really sit and explain what a Cape Verdean is in 10 words or less. So sodad, when I said to the Prime Minister, so how would you explain it? I'd ask everybody, how would you explain it? Just hoping that I could grasp even a collective few words to be able to tell you what sodad means. You just heard Albert. He cried, we cried. The man cried there. What the Prime Minister said to me the best was, so you are here in Cape Verde. Don't you miss your home a little bit? I didn't dare tell anybody on television. No, I didn't miss it as much as I thought I would. But there's a sodad, that, like a longing. So yes, I missed my daughters. I missed a lot of the benefits of home, the modern conveniences that we'd like to say I didn't have a lot of there. But he said, when you leave Cape Verde, this has now also become your home. So you will have sodad for America and sodad for Cape Verde. That's the best way you can explain it. You're home in both places. You have 1 foot here. They would say, peli, pela, 1 foot here, 1 foot there. And just like Albert, we start talking about Cape Verde, and you can feel it, you can see it. We start to cry. So we missed up. That is sodad. I miss my friends right there. My family. And these people that are family are people we never met before. Sodad for Cape Verde. So when you hear Candida Rose or somebody else sing the song Sodad, you will remember how tough it is for somebody to leave their country and how tough it was for us to leave our new homeland and come back to this one.